Watch yourself on the step.
Oh, honey, I'm so happy that we're finally married.
Oh, so am I, and I'm so excited for our little one on the way.
I know, I'm so excited to have a house full of babies so we can have a big family.
I know, I want a family just as big as the one that I was raised in when I was a child.
Yes, I want one of these ones. Honey, I want more children. 2 isn't enough for me. Screw zero population.
I don't know, honey. We already have our hands full with this one.
But we agreed on 6 kids. I won't let this go.
Mom and Dad, you need to realize you can't keep this up. 2 kids is all you need. If every family had a bunch of children, the world would suffer some major consequences. Plus, you have more time to spend with me. Watch this video we saw during our sex ed unit in health.
Okay, sweetie. And welcome to Channel 14 News. This broadcast is going to be a little bit different than usual. Today we are focusing in on an issue that is usually overlooked, overpopulation.
Yes, a lot of people tune out regarding this, but they did not realize how closely linked this concern is with many others, such as the economy, resources, and the environment. We are lucky enough to have Caroline Genther on our show this evening, who will be discussing the connections. Caroline?
Hello, and thank you for having me.
Why don't you start off by telling us what overpopulation is?
Overpopulation is the unwanted condition where the number of people exceeds a sustainable amount, resulting in detrimental results and even a population collapse.
Wow, an entire population collapse? How could the increasing numbers force something like that to happen?
It all begins with minor problems. Demand for living space and food increases as it becomes scarce. Natural resources diminish as a result from them being used at an irreplaceable rate. If we don't fix the issue ourselves, nature will do so through violence, epidemics, and starvation. Eventually, we'll be faced with a population collapse.
And you believe something so drastic as that could actually happen? Are there any signs that could lead to that already?
Yes, it is a real concern we are already being faced with. The United States Department of Energy claims that the gas production is reaching its peak. Once it does, gas prices will rise exponentially, much higher than they are now. Not only will this affect the economy, the natural resource will have been used to the point of no return.
Do you have any other examples of problems that it has caused?
It is also causing a lot of issues in India. Fresh water is running scarce as a result of such a large population. They are the second most populated country with roughly 1.2 billion people. This lack of water supply is also leading to many sanitation issues.
Oh wow, that sounds so serious.
Yes, it is very serious, and the scariest part is that this issue is often overlooked, and the 7 billion people who are overlooking it are also the ones causing it. So awareness needs to be spread in order for anything to change.
How can awareness be spread? How can we make people care?
I think that making people realize the severity of the situation is to publicize how many things overpopulation affects.
Why don't you tell the people tuning in about some of those effects?
Well, for starters, it affects the economy because when countries have a larger population, that region is more likely to go in debt because the governments don't have enough money to make accommodations for all the people.
That must be a real concern for many governments then. What is it that they can do to resolve this issue?
Government involvement is key in order to prevent an even higher rate of population growth. Governments providing incentives such as tax benefits or even establishing rules that limit the number of children per household will help the nation as a whole.
But wouldn't this anger the people?
Eventually, it would become widely accepted once people understand the necessity for such regulations. Plus, not all governments would need to resort to limiting number, as giving rewards to smaller families is also an option. Once the general public sees the consequences that come with too large of a population, I'm sure they will understand that measures need to be made to stop it from worsening. China has done something similar to this by setting a one-child policy, and the Chinese government claims that it has decreased the population by 4 million.
That makes sense. If our government decided to make some changes, I'd be in agreement because it's what's best for our society and the world as a whole. Can you give some real-life examples of what it's doing to our planet?
Well, everyone nowadays is complaining about gas prices. This is directly related to the overwhelming demand for its resources that cannot be replaced quickly enough. Gas production is not even at its peak yet, and once it is, the prices will soar even higher because of the complete lack of this vital resource. Another big concern right now is deforestation, which comes from people cutting down trees to make more room for people to live since we're running out of space in commercial areas. Not to mention the amount of animals that are dying due to their habitats being taken away.
Wow, as an animal lover myself, I can see that as a real issue. I think it's just disgusting how we are destroying their homes and poaching them for their fur and meat.
Are there any other problems with overpopulation other than resources and economics? What about global warming?
I laughed. You actually bring up my next point. With all the people in this world who drive cars and run factories, there are immense amounts of hazardous gases such as carbon dioxide and monoxide that get released into the atmosphere. Although you may think that that might not be such a big deal since it only brings up the overall temperature by a fraction of a degree per unit of time, the effect is quite large. Global warming is the reason why the icebergs in Greenland and the Arctic are melting.
But why does it matter so much if a chunk of ice sheds a few layers?
Well, the melting of the icebergs raises the sea level, and professionals predict that major cities such as New York and LA will be underwater in a matter of few centuries. Although that may not directly affect you, think about your grandchildren and their kids.
Wow, I never thought of it like that before.
That sounds awful. Thank you, Caroline, for joining us today and shedding some light on this obviously extremely serious issue.
It is my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Alright, well that's it for this episode.
I hope that really helped out some of the couples out there who are considering having large families and shows you some of the issues that could result